What if the smallest builders of the natural world suddenly woke up with human-level intelligence? I'm not talking about just instinctive teamwork. I mean reasoning, planning, and long-term strategy. Ants already function like living machines. They farm, they wage wars, they build colonies that last for decades. With human-level intelligence, they would instantly become the most organized and unstoppable force the planet has ever seen. Let's start with the numbers. Ants are everywhere. Scientists estimate there are around 20 quadrillion ants alive right now. That's over 2.5 million ants for every single human. They thrive in forests, deserts, cities, and even inside our homes. With human intelligence, every single one of those ants would become a mind with memory, ideas, and foresight. No species in history has ever had that kind of advantage. The first change we'd see would be in their communication. Right now, ants use pheromones, vibrations, and touch to coordinate. But with intelligence, those signals could evolve into a true language. Colonies could share complex plans instantly. Imagine an ant general broadcasting orders through chemical trails that form sentences. Entire armies would march with perfect precision, adjusting their tactics in real time. No human military has ever achieved that level of coordination. Culture would follow quickly. Ants already pass down instinctual behaviors, but with intelligence, they could preserve knowledge across generations. Colonies could develop traditions, stories, and strategies unique to their species. Leafcutter ants might refine their fungus farms into deliberate agriculture, rotating crops and inventing irrigation tunnels. Weaver ants might turn their leaf nests into sprawling green cities, planned with architectural precision. The diversity of ant cultures could rival human civilizations in complexity and scope. But it's their numbers that would truly shift the balance of power. A single ant colony can contain millions of individuals. Now imagine those millions all thinking with human-level intelligence, all working toward a single goal with no dissent, no distraction, and no corruption. Humans struggle to organize cities of a few million people. Ants could organize civilizations of billions without a single wasted effort. And with that organization, war would become their greatest weapon. Ants already fight organized battles with other colonies. With intelligence, these skirmishes would become full-scale campaigns. Colonies would strategize months in advance using deception, ambushes, and sieges. Imagine swarms of millions attacking in perfect silence, digging tunnels under enemy lines, and collapsing defenses with synchronized strikes. Other insect species would vanish almost overnight, completely unable to resist the relentless efficiency of ant militaries. Even larger animals, including humans, would be forced to adapt to the unstoppable pressure of an organized ant army. Their innovation would look very different from ours. Ants can carry many times their own weight, dig elaborate tunnels, and manipulate their environment. With intelligence, they could design ventilation systems in their nests that rival human architecture. They could farm not just fungus, but entire ecosystems underground, breeding insects for food, cultivating algae, even redirecting water supplies. Their tools would be simple but devastating. Sharpened leaves used as blades, resin hardened into shields, or sand fused with saliva into bricks for construction. They wouldn't need steel or fire. Their power would come from raw ingenuity and numbers, applied at an unbelievable scale. Humans would feel this shift almost immediately. Our crops would be raided not randomly, but strategically. Fields stripped overnight, supply chains sabotaged. Ants already infiltrate our homes. With intelligence, they could plan sieges on our food storage, overwhelm livestock, or even undermine buildings by tunneling beneath them. Cities could find themselves under pressure from within. Roads collapsing, power lines disrupted, food disappearing. We would no longer be dealing with pests, but with rival nations living right beneath our feet. Disease and sabotage could become deliberate tools. Ants already carry bacteria and fungi. With intelligence, they could weaponize these microbes, spreading them deliberately into human crops or livestock. Colonies might experiment with the selective breeding of pathogens to weaken their enemies. Wars between ants and humans could easily turn biological, with invisible strikes crippling us long before we ever saw an enemy. But not all colonies would choose war. Some might prefer coexistence. Farmers could find themselves negotiating with ant leaders, offering grain or sugar in exchange for protection against other pests. Cities might deliberately leave green zones for ants, treating them as dangerous neighbors but also as potential partners in managing local ecosystems. Imagine human governments signing treaties with underground civilizations, agreeing to boundaries and exchanges. The world would turn into a patchwork of human and ant territories, each cautiously respecting the other. Ecology itself would be completely reshaped. Intelligent ants could decide which species to protect and which to exterminate. They might engineer entire forests by pruning plants and redistributing seeds, turning wild landscapes into managed gardens. Grasslands might become vast underground hive cities with carefully cultivated crops on the surface. Predator-prey relationships would shift dramatically as ants learn to manipulate or eliminate any species that threatens their survival. The natural world would no longer evolve by chance. It would bend to the policies of insect empires. The long-term view is even more terrifying. Ants reproduce at incredible rates. A single queen can lay thousands of eggs in her lifetime. With intelligence, each generation would inherit not just instinct, but knowledge. Lessons written into their language and culture. In a single human lifetime, dozens of ant generations could rise, adapt, and refine their strategies. They would advance faster than we could possibly comprehend, leaving us struggling to keep up. So, what would the world really look like if ants had a human IQ? Cities would tremble beneath their tunnels. Forests would transform into carefully engineered farms. Human governments would be forced into uneasy alliances with insect nations. Some ants might be our allies, protecting crops and balancing ecosystems. Others might be ruthless conquerors, spreading across continents with unstoppable armies. But the scariest part isn't their size, it's their unity. A single human mind can dream, but billions of human minds struggle to agree on anything. Ants don't have that problem. They already move as one. With human intelligence, they would be a super civilization that thinks, plans, and acts with perfect coordination. So here's the real question. If ants ever woke up with human intelligence, would we even stand a chance? Or would the Earth already belong to them before we realized what had happened? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this thought experiment, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more what-if scenarios. Thanks for watching.